Pairing colors is an important skill for you to have, and there are ways to achieve this quickly. We talked about color relationships already, so let's see that in application. Having understood the color wheel, let's look at creating a color palette using Colors, Adobe Colors, and Canva Colors as well. So I'll be showing you three different tools that you can use. One is Colors, Adobe Colors, and also Canva Colors. Now you can use these three tools to generate colors, play around them, and create a palette. So let's jump in. The first one is Colors, and you can access this by simply going to colors.com. Once you're in colors.com, you start the generator. You give it a few seconds to load. And once you have it, Colors has a very simple interface. You can see 5 different colors here. And to remove colors, you can simply just click on the X here to remove color. You can remove a color. If you want to work with less colors, you can click on the X. And if you want to add colors, you can see here, there's a plus. You just click on that to add color and add color again. For the free plan, you can only work with 5 colors. Now, here's the interesting part. All you simply need to do is click on the space bar, and then it generates colors that work together for you. Click on the space bar and you can see that. Click on the space bar and it keeps generating colors. So let's assume that you like this color and you want to keep it. All you need to do is come to this icon and click here to lock it. You can see here, if I click it again, it unlocks it. So once you've locked a color, let's assume we want to lock this one as well. We can come all the way here and lock it. And then if you continue tapping on the spacebar, you can see that these 2 colors are locked in, but we continue generating more colors. If we want to save this one as well, you click on lock and you continue generating. Now, you can also move colors around to see what they look like close to each other. So if you come all the way here and you click on this icon and drag it and move it all the way, you can move it to the beginning, you can move it between these 2 colors, you can move this one here, and this way you can see how the colors work together, and you continue clicking on spacebar to generate more colors. Now, here's another interesting thing that Colors allows you to do. Let's remove these 2 so that we have just our 3 locked colors. And let's assume that we want to see this in action. Now, Colors gives you the option to come here, which is Visualize Colors. You click on that, it will open a new tab. And once you're in this new tab, give it a few seconds to load. It will show you your colors in action. Now, this may not be how you want to use the colors, but this gives you an idea of what these colors look like together. You can swipe down to see different styles. Now, you can come here to this section and shuffle the colors. If I click on shuffle, you can see that the color changes, the application of the colors. You can see that. And here as well, you can also add another swatch. You can see that it applies that to the demonstrations we have here. You can still come here and shuffle. You can shuffle and keep shuffling till you have an understanding of what it would look like before you choose the colors, right? You can specifically go to the different tabs, maybe mobile or branding or typography, patterns, illustration, just to see what it would look like. So another thing you can do is generate fresh new colors. So let's assume that you don't want to use these colors anymore. You can simply come to generate, click on generate, and you can see that it generates colors for you the same way that it did over here. So this is a very good tool because you can just come in here, click on the space bar. Let's unlock these so that we still have the option to generate. Let's create more swatches. You click on the space bar. You click on the space bar, it generates colors for you. And when you want to see them in action, you simply go to Visualize Colors, click on that icon, give it a few seconds to load. And here you can see your colors in action. Now let's move to the next tool, which is Adobe Color. And to access this, all you need to do is go to color.adobe.com. You can see that here in the address bar. And it gives us 3 options. Now you can create a color theme using the color wheel that we talked about already. You can extract a theme or gradient from a picture, and you can also check accessibility, how the text will work on a background and how much contrast they have. So let's start with the color themes. You click on visit, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swatches. The same way like we had in Coolors, you can come in here and add a swatch. You can click on this icon to remove a swatch. You can remove the swatch, and you can see that as we're removing swatches, these circles reduce and increase. Either we increase, if I come here and I increase this to add a swatch, you can see that we have a new swatch here. If I go down and delete that, you can see that it disappears. So remember, we talked about color harmony and we looked at 3 examples. If we come to this section here, you can see more examples. Now, we talked about the complementary color, we talked about the triadic color, and we also talked about the analogous color. You can see that there are more options here. Let's start with the complementary, which are on opposite sides of the color wheel. If you go to this circle with the triangle over here, you can simply drag it round the color wheel, and you can see that the swatches change at the bottom. Now, these will give you colors in the complementary harmony family. You can see that as we continue to drag it around, we have different colors. Now, to add saturation, you drag it out. You can see the colors below. And to reduce the saturation, you simply drag it in. And you can continue moving it around to get colors that you want. Another thing that we can do is extract theme. Now, if we go to extract theme, what we would do here is upload an image. So if you don't know the colors you want to use, you can simply go to Unsplash or go to a website and find pictures that demonstrate the mood of the design you're trying to create, and then find an image, bring it into Adobe Color. So we'll simply pick an image from the computer. You click on your image, you open the image, give it a few seconds to work on that. And now you can see that it selects colors for us within our image, right? Now, this is helpful if you want to if there's a mood you have in mind and you don't know the colors to use. You can find an image that captures that mood. You bring that into Adobe Color and then generate the colors from that image, right? An interesting thing you can do, we have options here. If we want more bright colors, we can click on that and then you adjust the colors to match. If we want muted colors, same thing, deep, dark, and none. So let's go back to colorful. These are not the only options we have. We can also still go in and click and drag any of the circles to select a specific color. You can click and drag if you want something darker here. You can move it here. You can bring this out and essentially just change it to whatever colors you would like to have in your design. Now, it has given you colors that you can use to work around your design. So another tool that we have is the accessibility tool. We'll talk about gradient later. So let's copy this color. We're copying the Xcode. Let's copy this color and move to accessibility tools. You can see that it gives us text color and then it gives us the background color. So let's assume that we picked that as our text color. Let's go back to our extract theme. And pick this color. Let's change it a little bit. Let's copy this and move back to our accessibility tool and paste that as our background color. Now, you can see what it would look like if you had text on a background at this point. And you can see that it marks this as pass. Now, if we do this, move this to, let's move this, let's make it darker a bit. You can see that as we move it, if the contrast gets too low, that text is not readable. You can see here, it notifies you that this is a fail. So you can adjust your colors. You can adjust your colors, move around to adjust your colors. If we make this brighter as well, you can see that this fails. You can move that down to a contrast ratio that works. And you can see a demonstration. Here we have text, here we have large text, here we have small text, here we have large text, and here we have graphic components like icons, logos, etc. So Adobe Color gives you more options than Colors will. You can start off with colors and play around to see colors that match. Just work around that. Keep tapping on the space bar to see how the colors blend. You can move them around, lock colors, and also visualize the colors when you have something you think looks good. Adobe Color gives you more options. You can upload an image and just pick colors from that image. You can also use the color wheel to select colors, and these tools help you pick colors in a way that works. So you're not just guessing, oh, let me just use red and use green, or let me just use yellow and use teal. You're not just guessing. This gives you a guide for you to work with. So the final tool we'll be looking at is Canva Colors. Canva also gives us the option to perform these functions. So let's look at that quickly. To get to this page, you simply click on canva.com/colors and it brings you here. So we have a few options here as well. We have color palette generator, we have color palette ideas, and we also have the color wheel. And here you can also see color meanings, right? So this is similar to what we have in Adobe Color, where you click in here and then it asks you to upload an image. Select our image, open. And the same thing, it generates colors from that image. Now, we don't have as much options as we do with Adobe Color, where we can move the colors around. But Canva also gives you that option to generate colors from a picture, right? So you can do that, find an image. If you want to use Canva, you bring your image in, you upload the image, and then you can see the colors in here. So all you need to do is copy the X codes. So let's go back to colors and try our color wheel. So with our color palette ideas, let's click in here. Here you can just type a word or a theme to get colors that match. So if I go in here and type Gothic, for example, now it gives you colors within that style, right? You can also see related combinations here. So it gives you, you can come in here, type a keyword, and then it gives you colors that match that idea and that theme that you have imputed. So let's go back to the colors page. And then now let's try the color wheel. So here we have something similar to what we have in Adobe Color. You can come in here and choose the style that you want, complementary, analogous, triadic, and other options like monochromatic and tetradic. Let's click on complementary. And remember, they're opposites on the color wheel. If I click on this and move it around, the other one follows. I can drag it in to reduce the saturation, and I can pull it out to increase the saturation. And you can keep going around till you find a pair that works. Now, you can come in here to export your palette or simply create a graphic, and this will create a Canva document for you to work with. You can also see more information here, which will aid your learning. Let's go back to our colors and go to the last card, which is our color meanings. Now, so you can simply go, pick a color, and read more about that color. Now, you can see that this is interesting. You can learn more about colors, their meanings, their history, their combinations, and all of that. And you can also see how they pair together. So with these tools, you can play around with colors, see different combinations, work around, go into colors, see how colors blend and work together, visualize the color in different types of web designs and different designs. You can see what it looks like in action. You can find images that carry the mood and communicate the kind of mood that you're trying to pass on with your design, and bring them into either Canva, Canva colors, or Adobe Color, and work around, move the dots around to see how the colors blend and pick a palette that works. We'll be putting all of these into action when we go into more practical work. But for now, go in and play around with these tools and get familiar with how to use them. A few quick tips for you. Number one, if it works well in grayscale, it would work well in color. So it'll help you if you design first in black, gray, and white, which means you would focus on the layouts, the principles, and putting your information all together in a way that makes sense. And in this way, you're able to define the contrast properly before you apply color. So the next is creating contrast. We can use high contrast where we pair colors with significant differences in hue, lightness, or saturation. For example, dark blue and bright yellow, good for making elements stand out. Or we can use more low contrast where we're pairing colors with subtle differences, such as shades and tints of the same color. Now, this creates more cohesive and less dramatic effects. Now, we can also use neutral colors, so our white, our black, our gray, and brown. They can help us create balance, and you can also use them as the backdrop, the background of your images. In this module, we've talked about color theory, we've looked at our color wheel, we've discussed color psychology, and we've also looked at tools that can be used in pairing colors. So Colors, for example, Adobe Color, and Canva Colors, right? So all of this will help you in understanding how to work around colors and pick a color palette, work with color themes, and just understand colors much better. In the next module, we'll be looking at typography. See you there.